Hi everyone. Today I thought of sharing with you all like three books that really helped in my journey, like the best three books I could say in my spiritual journey. Number one is I read this like 12 years back, which is the book of Power of Now. And actually why I got this book was I remember back then when I was in the university, I had a real problem living in the moment. Like I was constantly planning the future. So even when I'm in a lecture, I remember I was just planning what I would do next after the lecture and like what I need to buy from the supermarket. I was constantly planning. So I remember I was even when I like wherever I go, if I go to a restaurant, because this pattern just went on. So because of that, I really felt like there's something really off that I'm not living in this reality in this moment. I'm missing out on living. And then that's when I decided, okay, how would I stay myself anchored in the moment? And then when I type about that, and then this book came up. And I remember and then I just got this book and I started reading it. And I felt like I felt really, really good. I remember that really touched me so hard that every day before going to the university, I remember I just listened to that for 30 minutes because I remember I meditated before I went to the lectures. And each time, even after the meditation, I remember I was listening to Eckhart Tolle for a few minutes. So this really helps you to, this book really helped me to anchor myself in the moment. And also connect to my senses and like living there. Even though I try to practice that, I couldn't do it entirely because I was constantly going into back and forth to my past and the future. But still, this book gave me enormous relief. So that is one of the books that helped me in my spiritual journey. And I think that's the essence of uh, all spirituality, like living in the moment, like. But later on, I realized this is not something that I can do with so much effort. It is something which happens on its own. Living in the moment will not happen naturally with so much effort. It is something which is supposed to happen effortlessly, and that happened quite after a few years. But that really helped when before 12 years before when I just practicing this whole living in the moment really helped me in my spiritual journey. So that is the first book, which is The Power of Now. I highly recommend that book. I remember like for people who supported me sometimes as a gift, I gave this book because that really helped me. And I even gave it to my family members also because this really helped me. And then the second book is The Book of Not Knowing. My God, this book is so powerful. It's so powerful. And it has like 800 pages. It's all talking how much we don't know, you know. And how how interesting is that like the entire 800 books is telling like it just hammers all your knowledge that you have gathered so far. Or like this book I read actually very quite not so I think 5 6 years back where I was very intensely working on my uh, inner work. Like I remember I got this book and it really hit me the title itself, The Book of Not Knowing. And that really made me so humble, and to see the power of not knowing, you know. And like I saw how limited the knowledge is. And whatever we think we know is like it's all borrowed from someone else. It's not our direct experience. And this book really like guides someone in order to have their own experience, direct experience with the reality. It shatters all, like actually this makes you, like after I read this book, I really understood that how much we don't know. We think we know, but do we really know? And another like contemplation I would highly recommend you to do is ask yourself, what do I really know for sure? Sit down 40 minutes and start contemplating yourself, asking the question, what do I really know for sure? This makes us really humble and see the limitation of our own mind and the knowledge that we have gathered. Whatever we have gathered, is that our own experience or it's just someone else's experience? And how do we know? So even if you see this glass, like when we say a glass, it just hinders to experience this as it is. Can we just sit with this and know what is this? What is this? Do you even can sit with this and ask this question? And so this book helped me so much in my journey, actually. And I realized only by going into not knowing, you will receive real knowing. I remember like when I was in the university, actually, I remember when I went to the university library, I received this book, the Ramana Maharshi's one of the books, and I went on reading on. Uh, I remember one thing that he was constantly saying was, "Who am I?" And when I was reading that, like that question didn't really resonate with me because because I know who I am already. But when I read this book of not knowing, I went into a very, 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 very deep not knowing of who I am, which eventually hit me to a place where I had a direct experience of who I am. But before going into that, I had to go into a not knowing of who I am. And each time I went deeper into going not knowing of who I am, my world started collapsing. And that was a scary place to be in because you don't have anything to hold on to. Anything. Everything started collapsing. And more deeper I went in to that not knowing, the true knowing came as a direct experience. And that's why this so beautiful, this is amazing, like how powerful of not knowing is. Only when you go towards a not knowing. That's why even that like Zen master, when someone comes like when there's a person who came to learn from. There's a story which someone comes to Zen Master for teachings, and then what the Zen Master does is like he just go on pouring tea even after the cup filled up, and then the tea starts spilling out, and then the other person asks, "What are you doing?" Like, so he says that your mind is like this. How can anything go inside? This cup needs to be empty. So this is, I realized by reading this book. I have heard this, but it never hit me, the power of not knowing, until I went through that with this book. This really, really helped me so much. And I highly recommend this book. I know it's 800 pages, but let me tell you, like, this is so interesting, especially like someone who's coming from academic background and who is intellectual. This will be so helpful, I'm telling you. And this is one of my most favorite, I could say. And I could say this is my favorite, actually. I like it that much. So the next book I would talk about is Surrender Experiment. So this book is about a man going in his journey, surrendering to life. Actually, this surrender is a very big word in spirituality, but for me, I never resonated with that word because my life is about like, I didn't even know surrender because what I knew, the opposite of surrender, which is control. So everything I wanted to be like in my control, like my studies, like my exams, relationship, food intake, and my shape, and everything I wanted to stay in my control. And that's what I knew in my life. And then when I read this book, that just really was the opposite of the way I lived. And like it is a book how he just go on surrender into life, and how even by surrendering that he even create material success in a miraculous way in his life, which is actually this is a spiritual book, but at the end, this person, even in his material life, he just become quite successful, quite remarkable. And so this is something that was quite new to me when I started my journey, because I only knew control. Surrender is quite new to me, and I think I started learning surrender in very little ways. Like sometimes, like what I say is you don't need to force yourself to surrender, because surrender doesn't happen by force. Surrender happens with trust. Like so, so it's so what I share with you all is like the people, like mostly what we are used to is this whole control way of living. So this book will really shatter uh, how we have been living. And so I highly recommend this book as well. So this helped me quite so much in my journey, because that was a whole new world and a whole new perspective to me about surrender, because surrender comes with trust, which least I had was trust, actually, because I remember I didn't feel safe in the world, and I didn't trust like anyone to say. I rarely trust someone, so like I couldn't really trust people. I was constantly quite cautious when it comes to people or strangers, but this just gave me a whole new perspective on surrender and the new way of living. This helped me in my journey because I remember, like, even after reading this book, this was in my background. And so I was started trusting more and more in my life, and then surrender happened on its own. If someone asks how to surrender, that's not possible to answer because it happens on its own and with trust. So these are the three books. I'll tell again. First one is The Power of Now. Second one is The Book of Not Knowing by Peter Alston. I think I didn't mention the second book author. Third one is Surrender Experiment, which is by Michael Singer, Michael A. Singer. Yeah. So these are the three books. You can check them out. And I read them in Kindle, so I can't show you the hardcover. And read and let me know how it goes. Thank you.